Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yoshai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yoshai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yoshai, Kolan Yallah, Adonai Yahweh, Bashem Shamalak Yoshai, Bashem Rakadash. Double honor to the apostle of the elders, great millstone, peace, citation, Philek, Shalom. And I may entitle this video OnlyFans Model Stabs Boyfriend. And let me see, it says right here that Aiden Nesvisky on the left used to live under Courtney Clenny and Christian Obumseli, and says the pair often engage in destructive fighting. This is a former neighbor of OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny, who has been accused of stabbing her boyfriend to death, says the pair would often get into chaotic and violent disputes. And it says Clenny, a 26-year-old OnlyFans and Instagram model, has been charged with second-degree murder in the April 3rd fatal stabbing of her 27-year-old boyfriend, Christian Obumseli. Before moving to Miami, the pair lived in Austin, Texas, in an apartment above Aiden Nevesky, who detailed the disastrous fights he would overhear to Fox 7. And one fight became so vicious that a tiger painting was thrown onto Nevesky's apartment balcony as the couple quarreled upstairs. Behind closed doors, quote, we just started hearing some shouting, yelling. We don't know who was starting. Why? We didn't get a lot of context, Nevesky said. And quote, occasionally we would hear some glasses break and some banging on the walls, floors, not sure, who was doing it. He added, in quote, I just want people to know that I had been going on for a long time and it definitely could have been stopped. Nesvisky said the police were called on the couple several times while they lived in Austin, a troubling trend that officials say only continued with their move to Miami. A 4-month probe into Obumseli's death concluded last week with Clenny's arrest in Hawaii, where she was living at a rehab for substance abuse and post-traumatic stress. Her attorney, Frank Prieto, has not denied that she stabbed Obumseli to death, but has defended her actions as self-defense. According to an arrest report, she said Obumseli had pushed her and thrown her to the ground. She said she then grabbed a kitchen knife and threw it at Obumseli from about 10 feet, in parentheses 3 meters away. After Obumseli's autopsy, however, a medical examiner said the wound could not have been caused by a knife thrown at that distance. And quote, Obumseli was the abuser, the worst kind of abuser, Prieto said in a statement to the Associated Press. And quote, he would manipulate and abuse Courtney in private when he thought nobody was around. Shocking video footage taken in the elevator of the couple's Miami apartment building just 2 months before Obumseli's death appears to show Clenny as the aggressor in the fight. The clip shows Clenny slamming elevator buttons before turning on Obumseli. She repeatedly hits Obumseli with her fist, sometimes hitting his head and yanking at his hair. Obumseli can be seen in the footage trying to push Clenny off of him. Officials have not shared what sparked the fatal argument between Clenny and Obumseli. So yeah, pretty much this is like the 1-minute video. Okay. Okay, in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 25, verse 16, it says, I had rather dwell with a lion and a dragon than to keep house with a wicked woman. And as you can see in that video, like, she started assaulting the man first, so I really don't think that man, you know, had assaulted her. And they mentioned that she had a lot of, mental health problems. And that's another thing a lot of men have to realize when it's coming to women that use social media a lot. You have to realize that women that use social media a lot, they they feel very insecure about themselves, in a mental state, mentally speaking, that they have a lot of problems in their life usually, and you have to really understand their mental health before you get to deal with them, you know, in terms of dating them and things of that nature. And that's another thing with these women, when they're so much of being fanatics about social media, like, a lot of the times they are narcissistic and toxic. So you just gotta keep in mind. And you definitely don't want to dwell in the house with them. You rather dwell with ferocious beasts, like the scripture says, um, you know, in Ecclesiastes chapter 25, verse 16. And pretty much says in verse 20, as the climb up a sandy way is to the feet of the aged, so is a wife full of words to a quiet man. And verse 21 says, stumble not at the beauty of a woman, and desire her not for pleasure. Right? Because, a lot of these guys, when they desire these women for pleasure, what they end up doing, the unthinkable. They end up wanting to marry the woman. They want to be in a relationship with her, and they end up losing their wits for a woman, and that's what a lot of men need to understand, that your wisdom is not worth being with a woman, especially these modern day women. And look at that, he ended up, pretty much being dead because he got with a wicked woman, And then scripture says right here in Ecclesiastes 25 verse 13 that, the plague is pretty much like, that's the plague of the heart is the worst type of affliction you could ever go through in a mental, state of mind. You know what I mean? But then the worst wickedness that you could ever go through physically is the wickedness of a woman, because if you had it to where that guy hit that woman first or some shit because she was talking out of pocket, right? He would have went to jail and he would have got arrested. But it seemed like in the video she was hitting him first and she was hitting on him, first, and he was defending himself. But now if he's pretty much like gave that bitch a good hook, punched her right in the face to make her fall, now he would go to jail and get in trouble. You see? The system really backs up these wicked ass women. And she's trying to make up a lie, claiming that she didn't stab him, that she threw the knife at him. But the autopsy, when they reviewed it, they said that looked more like she stabbed him. So yeah, and pretty much she was charged with murder for doing those things. And Ecclesiastes chapter 26 verse 7 says, an evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. He that hath hold of her is as though he held a scorpion. Right? And dealing with that woman, what did she do? She put that guy to death. And that's what scorpions do. They have the ability to pretty much to kill you. Right? And in Ecclesiastes chapter 26 verse 25, it says, a shameless woman shall be counted as a dog, but she that is shamefaced will fear the Lord. Right? And pretty much like that woman seemed like she was untamable, like she was like a wild dog pretty much. And you're supposed to be glorifying your, your boyfriend, which is pretty much like your husband, because of course, most likely, obviously, them dating, he most likely popped her, so that would be considered his wife, because sex is marriage. And look how she's treating it, her her boyfriend. She's basically hitting on him and disrespecting him. And a neighbor mentioned that they used to have quarrels back when they were living in Texas or so. And I'm like, so this pretty much been going on for a minute, for a while, you know. That's why it shows you right there that you shouldn't really desire to be with any of these women, because they're just trouble, and it's all about them, and it's never about you as a man. That's what a lot of men need to realize nowadays. And it says in Proverbs chapter 21, verse 9, it says, "It is better to dwell in a corner of the housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house." And more than likely, that bitch was most likely a harlot, because I forgot to mention that. Let's not forget, she has an OnlyFans account, So I wouldn't be surprised if she has a lot of other men that she's pretty much getting attention by, and a lot of men texting her and shit. Yeah. And she probably dated a bunch of other guys before she met him, most likely. When you deal with America, that's the type of lifestyle that a lot of these women live, is that they experiment with different guys. So you're not technically their first. For all we know, you could be their fifth or sixth or maybe even 10th. It's fucking insane. And yeah, and like the scripture said in verse 9, it is best to dwell in the attic. You'd rather be in a studio apartment and knowing that you live by yourself in peace and harmony, like all by yourself, than to just be in a mansion, in a nice apartment complex, or even in a nice big house, knowing that you're living with a brawling woman. That's all about, static and drama. It's not worth it. And verse 19 says, "It is better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman." Right. Because, you got to deal with a wild bitch, And it's sad to see that in the ancient times, woman was actually in order. But when you look at these women now, they're like fucking like ogres, They're like wild beasts. They're untamable. And and she seemed like she was she appeared to be a so-called white woman, but I don't know, she could be potentially a jig, I'm not sure, but she seemed like she looked like a white woman, but she's a wicked ass bitch, I'll tell you that for a fact. And you can only imagine if that was a so-called black woman, or even a Spanish woman, because it just really shows you women are wicked as hell. So in 1 Ezra chapter 4, verse 37 says, "Wine is wicked, the king is wicked, women are wicked, and all the children of men are wicked, and such are all their wicked works, and there is no truth in them, and their unrighteousness also they shall perish." And when you go and take the account of Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 25, where it mentions about that if you please the Most High, you shall escape the wicked woman, but the sinner shall be taken by her. And yeah, not only that this man was taken by her, his fucking life was taken, you know? I call him Yasharahla 441. But yeah. So it really shows you that how you gotta be really circumspect with dealing with women as well. And you have to also be wise when it's coming to dealing with women too. Because they're nothing but snares and nets and traps. You know? And this is a woman that has OnlyFans, so technically she's like a prostitute online. Because she's selling videos and pictures of her body, things of that nature. Basically like a virtual slut. Or a social media slut for that matter. So, this is to you, sincere Akim, that's viewing these videos, man. Always be careful and be aware of what type of woman you're dealing with. And always make sure you know that she has social media. Always be aware, you know, try to get to know her, people that's around her, family, you know, friends, things of that nature. And you just want to make sure you pretty much like, you get to know them for a couple months down the line just before you go as far as dealing with them in terms of having them to be your, you know, your girlfriend. But with that, I hope I made the lesson edifying. Let's give all glory, praises, honor to Adonai Yahweh, Hashem Shamalak Yahshua, Hashem Kadash, double honors, apostle, the Elsgate Millstone, peace, I teach you on Falek, Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, Bakashah, Shalak Rayam, Adonam, Yam, Wakwa, Yam, Wa, Ababa, Shalom.